Oh, na me now. Oh, me na. Oh, me na na. Oh, me na. We na na. We oh me na. We. Oh, me na. Oh, me na na na. We oh me. Oh na. We na. We na. We na. We na. Na. We oh we. Now.
Hello there, and welcome to The High Ground, a Doof bonus content show where we're adventuring into DreamWorks' Shrek franchise. I'm your tortured gingerbread host, Reuben Morehouse.
I just realised I haven't practiced the accent. I'm not prepared. Okay, give me a second.
Georgia, will we ever have an episode where you get through the intro
I'm not editing
in a
any
single
of this.
take? I swear. I don't
In a
think we've
surprising turn of
ever-
events, I'm not prepared.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, give
you
me
don't
a
have to be
second.
prepared. Just kind of go with it, you know. We've never cleanly made it through the intro. Georgia.
Okay. And I'm your swampy ogre host, Snorker Default.
Donkey!
See, it was really funny because we switched voices just like
Oh,
Donkey and Puss in the movie. And it was done
Okay.
really seamlessly. I practiced the Scottish accent, nailed it. I just kind of didn't do anything much.
I think I blocked that plot line out of my memory immediately after finishing the film.
But one of the only funny parts of
Yeah,
the movie was,
I was going to say, that's one of
was
the
related
highlights.
to that.
Mm. Mm. Well, yeah,
Mm.
Shrek 3, huh?
Huh.
Here we are. I mean, like, here's the thing. The premise of our show that we do is obviously all about series of movies that start good and get shit. But it
Mm.
still hurts every time a movie series that was good starts to get shit.
Oh,
right?
except the prequels, which did the
Yeah, I was
opposite.
about to say, that's not
You're right, they never
technically our
started
theme.
good.
We're just
Started
bad
bad.
at picking them.
Mm. But that is what our show really is about.
It's what
is
it's become.
A decline. It's just the decline of film series.
This is a much steeper decline though than Pirates was. Like
Really?
I think Shrek
Then
2
Pirates
I'd
to
three
say
me,
to
the
4.
opposite.
Pirates 3 to 4, I think, is much worse than Shrek 2 to 3.
Agreed.
disagree.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think this movie seems comparatively worse because I think Shrek 1 and 2 were both like really good
yeah.
movies, like
Yeah.
next level good movies, in a way that none of the Pirates movies are like next level good. And then this movie is just like super average.
Yeah, isn't that
But-
like the same level of wait, I'm just talking about it's all
yeah,
relative.
I see what you mean. But I guess I thought there was a more gradual
Let me put this question to everybody. Would you rather watch Shrek 3 or Pirates 4?
yeah.
Oh, Shrek 3
I mean,
for
Shrek 3.
sure.
Yeah.
But would you
Right.
rather watch Shrek 2 or Pirates 3?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Shrek
Like
2. I guess I would always rather watch Shrek than Pirates.
Yeah,
I
but like,
anticipate that will stay true for the
we're looking
remainder
for
of
the
this
differentials here. Well, it's getting too mathematical. This is
Yeah.
not worth arguing any further.
Mhm.
Regardless, it's like the weird thing about this movie to me is this is a bad sequel to Shrek 2. And I think it's kind of funny that Shrek 2 was this weird sequel in that it was very distinct and actually worked just as well, if not better, than Shrek. And then
Mm.
this movie falls for basically every trap that Shrek 2 didn't by being a bad sequel to the good sequel. It's really funny, actually, that they kind of managed to accidentally walk into it like that.
That is interesting. It's a good point because this movie is so clearly a sequel to Shrek 2 in a way that Shrek 2 wasn't as clearly a sequel to
Yeah.
Shrek 1. Like,
And I think because we actually just like analyzed how great a sequel Shrek 2 was, it stood out to me so much more how like everything that this movie did wrong, basically.
mm.
Yeah.
Like, oh, remember all those things that Shrek 2 did right? Here they are, not done.
Yeah, this is the classic sort of budget bad animated movie sequel. It's just a movie later in the series than they normally are.
Mm.
Agreed.
So I don't know. In a way, it makes me think Shrek 2 is even better because like the contrast. You're just like, oh, these are all the traps Shrek 2 did not fall for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, having said that, I still like if we're sort of going for our overall thoughts at the start here, like I still it was still like a fun movie. I still laughed out loud fairly regularly. Not as, I think, not necessarily that much less than I did in the other films, but not as hard. Like they're more like just little chuckles, like ha ha ha, rather than like the other movies. You're like, holy shit, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's still like a fun movie.
Yeah, I think it's easy to sort of think of this movie as bad because if you're putting it up against Shrek 1 and 2, it is. But you're right, like just on its own merits, like there was stuff to like in this film.
Yeah. Something to not like that Shrek 2 also did is the sort of weird like passive sort of sexism. Like Fiona is just so second fiddle to Shrek, and it doesn't make any sense because she's like the person inheriting this kingdom, not Shrek. Like Shrek is just some fucking guy from a swamp.
Some rando. Yeah.
And like Fiona's dad is talking to him like he's the heir to the throne. And it's like Shrek is the least qualified person here, 100%. Like you have literally two queens and there's this guy, and why are you talking to him? Anyway.
And he's the one who doesn't want it.
I think genuinely Donkey would be a better king than Shrek would be. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, you're right. Like there's been this weird like growth of the kind of battle of the sexes type of humor in the Shrek series, and you kind of felt it a bit in Shrek 2, and it's a lot worse in this one, and it's really weird, right?
Yeah, it's so like it doesn't fit in with the whole sort of like message of acceptance and like accepting people who are weird and different and not the same as you, and it's like, oh, unless they're a woman.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to. I mean, I guess we'll get to this in a bit, but like one of the prime examples is Shrek's like fear around being a father, right? But the thing is, there's like two reasons for that presented in the film. One is Shrek's fear about being a good father because he's an ogre and his father was a piece of shit, which was like compelling and not at all weirdly steeped in sexism. And then the other is just kind of like generic, oh, it sucks to be married and it sucks to be tied down by a wife and kids kind of stuff. And like they didn't need that. They already had a reason for Shrek.
Because I'm a man and men worry about these things for no apparent reason.
It's very 1960s sitcom level shit.
But like they didn't need that. They already had a reason for Shrek to be a compelling emotional reason for Shrek to be worried about becoming a father. Like it's just very strange. It feels like somebody read like a synopsis. One of the writers read a synopsis of like Shrek worried about being a dad. Oh yeah, I get it. All right, I'll chuck in some like shitty sexism kind of jokes.
I get it. It's because he a man.
Men don't want to be tied down, so we'll put that into the script, right?
I will say, because my big criticism of Shrek 2 was that Fiona and Dragon just kind of got excluded from the movie because it was telling Shrek's story, and I was like, oh, it'd be nice if like the women in the film actually had their own plot point. And this movie was a bit of an exercise in like kind of careful what you wish for.
I want the women included in the film, but not like that.
It's not terrible, but
it was similar. It reminded me a lot of Endgame, where it's like, oh, and now we have all of the women on the screen at once, and that's feminism. It's like, no, it isn't. I actually read that one of the directors or producers or something was like, I regret that scene, and I was like, thank you, so cringy. And this was just like that. Anyway. I think as well, like compared to the second one, you know how we talked a lot about how there was kind of the cool thing of like it being compared to Hollywood to kind of show that this is like a vain society and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then this movie just had like so on the nose. It was like, Artie is Shrek's son. And it was just like not even trying to be subtle or interesting in any way. It was just so ham-fisted.
You're right. It was very heavy-handed. But then that one bit where they're at the play at
I
the
know what
end.
this is going to be.
Where they're at the play at the end, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's bring your kids to work day." It was just so overt that I had to be like, "All right, you've turned me around."
Who would have thought that a monster like me could deserve a treasure like
It
this?
was very.
Oh God,
it was so over the top that it went around and became funny again to me. But yeah, I think like Shrek 2, the Hollywood stuff, is like a great call because I think the theming in that film was so cohesive, right? Whereas in this one, it's got like 3 different plots ish. You know, it's got like the villains taking over. It's got the stuff that happens with the princesses, which I guess is tied into that, and then it has like the high school-y area, and it's like none of them really feel as strong or cohesive as the Hollywood stuff did.
Yeah.
And none of the jokes, or not as many of the jokes in this film, like tied into that as well. It really felt like they just didn't have as good of an idea, I guess.
a bit more disjointed, yeah.
It's a lot more hodgepodge, yeah. Like, I think, why Shrek and Shrek 2 work is because Far Far Away being Hollywood tied into the rest of the stuff the story was doing. Whereas here, we're
Yes.
going to talk about things like the visit to the high school and how great that was on its own, but it's also this like 5-minute section of the movie that doesn't feel thematically or like, locationally tied to any of the rest of it. And that's like the general feeling of this movie. It doesn't hit you as hard because all these things are kind of okay on their own, but there's nothing bringing them together, which just like makes you feel good when it all comes together. Like Artie has his big speech at the end, and I guess we'll get there when we get there. But like his speech at the end just really highlights how this movie was just juggling a bunch of different, completely unrelated balls. And Artie gives this speech which like catches a third of them, and then they're like, "Well, that's all you're getting."
Yeah.
And I think like just it's like maybe they did so well with puns previously, and some of this feels a bit like somebody came up with a good pun and then they tried to shoehorn it into the plot rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
Like they come up with all these high school puns and we're like, oh, we can put that in there somewhere.
I mean, the jokes in the high school section were great. It just was
They are
so
very good.
disconnected from any other part of the.
Yeah.
Should we start working our way through the movie?
Yeah, let's get into the plot, shall we? So it
Yeah.
starts with Prince Charming, who, after his defeat, has been reduced to acting in local plays. And after being a loser, for a number of nights in a row, he vows vengeance on the new acting king and queen, who are Shrek and Fiona.
Yeah, and like what's really fun is this movie opens like with the play, and it's like a direct reference to the opening of Shrek 2. Like legitimately 10 seconds in, I was like, oh shit, have I opened the wrong movie? This is Shrek 2 again. And then, it's obviously, oh no, it's Prince Charming's in a play this time, and it sort of reintroduces what happened in Shrek 2 and blah, blah, blah. But it's like Shrek 2's intro was already a really fun inversion of Shrek 1. And like, once again, this is an inversion that's just not quite as interesting or clever. And I feel like that opening just really establishes what Shrek 3 is, which is like, oh, it's a sequel of Shrek 2 that's not quite as clever or original as Shrek 2 was.
Yeah. I did like we immediately jumped into all of the references. Like they have the coconuts, like from Monty Python, and there was something else in that opening sequence. I can't remember, but still some good movie references. Actually, there was some because I watched it with like my mum and dad and my sister, and there were a few that like because you know how we sit there and we go, oh, this is like, oh, I thought this was a kid's movie. And then you're like, oh, it's all these adult references. Like there were also a bunch of references that as like a younger person went way over my head, and mum and dad are going, oh, it's just like this old film. And I'm like, what? So there's like this third layer that I'm like, they're still going over my head. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
In 20 years, we'll rewatch these films again and get a whole new depth of understanding for
that's assuming we're going to watch.
Yeah, I was about to say, am I going to go back and watch a bunch of old movies?
Of course, got to go back and watch a bunch of old classic films. Right?
I'll look up what ones reference Shrek 3, watch them, and then watch Shrek 3 again and be like, oh.
Yeah, it's the Shrek viewing guide where you only watch movies that are referenced in Shrek films. That's like the litmus test for whether they're quality enough to be remembered.
That would actually be like really funny to like sit someone down and make them watch like before they watch Shrek 1, they got to watch The Matrix, like Robin Hood in tights, like everything that the first movie referenced.
So they can have the perfect viewing experience.
So you can be like Captain America and be like, I understood that reference. I understood that reference just for the whole movie.
It's like, sorry, this is a tangent. I think I might have brought this up. I don't know if it was on this podcast or another one, but there was like a Reddit thread a couple of months ago where somebody was like, "Oh, somehow my dad, he's like a 50-year-old guy, and he's never seen any movies. Like,
That can't
What?
have happened.
yeah." I look, it was probably made up. I don't know, but it was basically this guy. This guy was like, "Okay, now my dad wants to watch some movies. Like, Reddit helped me put together a list of all the greatest movies that he should watch." Blah blah blah. And I was like, that's such a wasted opportunity because people are giving him like Shawshank Redemption and like, all these very good films. And it's like, this guy has no like context. Why are we wasting all these good movies on him when we could build him up? Like, let's fucking start him with Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, start him with a Neil
Yeah.
Breen film and just see if that's what he thinks movies are.
Like
Yeah, because it's true. Like, I remember, I'll always remember. So I saw the Aragon movie with my sister. So she'd read the book. Do you guys know Aragon, right? Like the
Yeah.
TV. Well, I was going to say TV series, the book series / movie. And we saw it together, and I hadn't read the books, and I was like, "That was such a good movie," and I was like, "Garbage," and I was like, "Oh, I loved it so much. I'm going to read the book." And then the second I finished the book, I was like, "That movie was garbage."
Yeah.
It would be like that. You're like, "Oh, this movie is so great," and then he watches like Shawshank Redemption and goes, "No, it wasn't." But yeah, if you start him on like the best movies in the whole world, he'll be unpleasable.
It's a shitty thing to do for him because it sets the line way too high, and it's also just a waste of a perfectly good human experimentation opportunity.
Yes, 100%.
Like, it baffled me that everyone was suggesting very good movies and not just like make this 50-year-old dude watch Herbie Fully Loaded to start. Like,
Yeah, or like only set his Netflix to only have movies like in Korean with English subtitles or something, and be like, no, just all movies are in Korean.
can
That's just
only
how they
watch-
make movies.
You can only watch Netflix Christmas movies.
Dad's been trying to get me to
them.
watch Netflix Christmas movies with him ever since we watched Last Christmas like 3 years ago, so I could write that doof article on it. He's fallen in love with the genre of shitty Netflix Christmas movies, and it's just awful because now every time like I go over to his place, it's like, oh, why don't we watch whatever trash Netflix
Christmas
has churned out this week?
He kept doing when he was up on the weekend. He's like, he's like walking out of the room. He goes, "Oh, maybe we should watch like a Netflix Christmas movie." And he walks out, and Mum and I just look at each other like, why would we do? It's November. Mum goes, "It's November. It's like the start of November." I'm like, but even putting that aside, like, I don't want to watch that.
Now, I'll tell you all the Christmas movie you should all watch because it's wonderful. It's
Grumpy
called
Cat?
Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever.
Oh,
Have I made you watch it yet, Elliot?
No, you haven't. I've wanted to ever since I read your article. So,
You
Georgia, for your
really
context,
should.
and for anybody who's listening who doesn't know this, one of the bonus content things we did like 2 years ago was every doofer did some articles on like a couple of Christmas films.
Yeah.
And so I did Last Christmas, which was garbage, and Reuben did Grumpy Cat's Christmas, and your article made me really want to watch it, and I need to
really, really, like a lot of it was very like bland Christmas movie stuff, which I get the sense your dad would enjoy anyway. But then some of it was just like really off the wall in a way that I really enjoyed. So
Wasn't
I would
Aubrey
strongly
Plaza
recommend it.
Grumpy
Yeah,
Cat?
Aubrey Plaza voices Grumpy Cat, and Aubrey Plaza is delightful, and she's at her most Aubrey Plaza in this role. But some of it is just really like surreal.
Should we add it to our list of weird Christmas things to watch?
Yeah,
And we've
true.
already
I mean,
got
this is the
enough
perfect
this year.
show to force you both to watch it, isn't it?
Not this year, maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe
Or
next
we
year.
can do Christmas in July or some shit.
Mm,
Oh yeah, that's a
mm.
good point.
Now, what are we talking about? Oh, Shrek 3.
Yeah, what are we doing again?
Hey, do you all think Prince Charming wrote this play?
Yes. I
He
mean,
did,
who
right?
else wrote it?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I was thinking this. I really feel bad for him at the start of this film because he writes this play and everyone just like picks on him and makes the play shit. I mean, the play was shit, but makes it worse.
I think the sad thing is that he's like, people keep laughing at him, and he keeps trying so hard to like. He's like, "Come on, you can still do it," and he keeps trying to still say the lines, and then it's like he's trying so hard.
Yeah.
It's really sad. And he's kind of like they portray him as like a sort of man child. So he is kind of you get the sense he's like a pretty useless child who was like a real mummy's
Yep.
boy, and his
Yep.
mum's fucking died. And so you do feel a bit bad for him. I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
anyway.
No, I
Yeah,
did
He's like an
too.
orphan.
He's a bit of a tragic villain in this one because he's
Yeah.
just like this is the other thing as well. Like the thing that really pissed me off is his mom gets like a few references, and like the rest of this film, well, half of the rest of this film is about like parenting and shit. And it's like
Mm.
there was so much room to play
Shit.
with like him being the villain and all this stuff relating to because his mom like groomed him to be this piece of shit, and like it was right there. I don't know why they didn't go further
That is
with this.
such a good point.
Like
They could totally have, that would have been so good.
like yeah. But like they're kind of I almost feel like again the original version of the script had more of that, but it was a bit like, oh no, that's too complex a villain for this film. Like he still needs to be
Mm.
the baddie because the ending for this film really sort of does everything it can to take away any sort of moral high ground like Prince Charming might have and turn him into just the like children's villain.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. They could have made him actually like a sort of. I wouldn't have minded if he'd come good at the end, because I think, like you said, you feel that because he's just kind of like the idiot, you know, like she was the brains and he was just like the sort of idiot who she dragged along, and often those characters end up kind of being goodies because they're like just misunderstood or misguided or whatever. Like
Yeah.
maybe it would have been a lot more interesting to see him actually become one of the good guys because, yeah, of exactly all of the reasons that this movie allegedly
Yeah.
looks into.
The whole speech at the end of the film is like, "Oh, don't chase things for other people. Do what you want to do," and they just ignore it with Prince Charming, even though it was on
Unless
a
you're
platter.
Prince Charming, and then you just forget about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon they probably could have figured out a way to have Prince Charming play Arthur's role in this film and still have it work out.
Yeah, like yeah, I think there's a lot they could have done, and it's just yeah, it's so close and yet so far.
Yeah. So good film.
I do really like so just after this play there's the whole like because then we cut to like Shrek is meant to be the acting king, and I guess we've already discussed how that doesn't make sense. Fiona should be the one in charge, whatever. I do enjoy this little like this is one of those doesn't really make sense but is a funny section of the movie, like the bit where he tries to break the bottle on the ship and accidentally like sinks it, like
Yeah, that was
was
genuinely
hilarious.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole, I mean, they've had like an opening montage for all of the movies. So they definitely needed one. And yeah, I thought that was actually quite, it was sort of funny, yeah, watching them try to be proper and failing miserably.
There were some good parts to it, but like that montage also happened in Shrek 2, and I feel like it was a bit better there, right? Like
Yeah, I forgot about that.
that exact same thing happens in Shrek 2 when they first arrive in Far Far Away.
Oh yeah, I
That-
see what you mean, yeah.
That bit where there's the aide scratching Shrek's ass, and it goes on for like 20
Oh,
seconds.
yeah.
It's just such a long sequence, and it's just so devoid of any laughs. It
Oh,
really.
There's a laugh. There's a laugh right at the start of it, which is when Shrek asks him what his name is, and he says it's Fiddlesworth, and Shrek goes,
Yes.
"Perfect."
Yes.
True, that was good.
That
Yeah.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was funny.
And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, this movie had good jokes in it. Just had also some bad jokes, and also didn't really work.
Super inconsistent, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot more
Um,
hit and miss. Like they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall a lot more in this film.
Yeah. I can't remember what else is in the montage.
So there's the
It
suiting
was
up
just
before.
so memorable. Yeah, that bit was I mean, it was kind of funny when they're like, "Oh, let's hug," and then they're just kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, although Pirates did that joke, but a bit better.
I felt familiar. Yeah.
Has Star Wars done that joke too? I'm trying to think.
Probably with Padme. Yeah.
Yeah, remember
Um,
when the creature rips her shirt off so that she can move better? That's totally what that was for.
So yeah, King Harold croaks, but
Hey.
Shrek is not. Sorry.
Oh, I was saying A because of the croak joke.
Oh, is that a joke?
Ruben, you've italicized it in the
I
script.
have. I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, King Harold croaks, and Shrek is not ready to have any real power, so he freaks out a bit and decides to try and find King Arthur, or soon to be King Arthur, the only other possible person in line for the throne, despite Fiona being right there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so unbelievable. Especially because they keep literally, like, at first you sort of think, oh, is it like Shrek and Fiona as a couple? And so, and it's just like at this in the start opening sequence, you're like, oh, I mean, Shrek's throwing the bottle, but like it's sort of Shrek and Fiona. And then it just becomes really blatant when Shrek's like, I don't want to be king, so I'm going to find this guy. And then the whole rest of the movie is like, oh, I'm the only other person who could have been next in line to be king. And it's like, yeah, it's definitely Fiona.
Yeah.
And it makes way more sense. Like, I think it just it was also we just watched Spy Kids recently as well, which
that would be a candidate
it
for
would
this
it
show.
would definitely watching that I was thinking that would be really good for this podcast. But it was sort of a similar thing where there's this whole subplot in the second film about Antonio Banderas being becoming the like head of this spy agency. And then just at the end of the movie, and I was like, why did they not pick his wife? Because she's so much more competent and way better personality for it. And literally we were just like, probably because she's a lady?
Yeah.
There seemed to be this unspoken thing in the film, like, because with the kid actors, the girls were actually way more competent than the boys, and the whole film was about the boys being worse than the girls. And then for some reason, there was just this like, but once they become adults, the boys are still in charge for some reason. It's really weird. Anyway, we should totally do those films. I think there is a third one, actually. We could do a trio.
Yeah, there's
now.
This is completely aside and should probably just be a personal conversation, but fuck it, I've given up on Shrek 3 already.
Oh, there is Spy Kids 3D game over. Anyway.
Yeah, a friend
that
was
has
recently.
Joel McHale in it, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
It has
and
who
then
in
there's
it?
a fourth one. There's Spy Kids All the Time in the World, which I'm pretty sure is it's the fourth one about time travel.
Yeah, Georgia, this should probably just be a conversation, but whatever. A friend was recently telling Reuben and I about he and a bunch of friends did this thing they called the Land Before Time, where they watched all the Land Before Time movies while playing land games. And I was like, we should do that.
Oh my God. Only if we're allowed to sing.
Oh yeah,
I had
but
to stop Mum very quickly from singing along to all of the songs in Shrek 3. But you
yeah,
will not be able to stop me from singing along with the Land Before Time.
Yeah, but like, imagine like we'll put on fucking Mario Party 3, 50 turns. That'll take like 8 hours, and just so I can have Land Before Time on the side as well. It will be atrocious.
The villain in Spy Kids 3 is Sylvester Stallone.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the cast right now, and I'm like, whoa.
I don't think I ever made it that far. I've only seen the first, maybe the second one.
So it's just like not seeing like the IMDb picture for the girl who plays Carmen Cortez, and she's just old, like she's like a middle-aged lady. It's like, what? Antonio Banderas is old too now.
Oh my God, yeah, they're so much older than you expect. These
Are the
Spy
grandparents even alive still? Are you alive, Ricardo?
Like they're a grandparent?
Taliban? Yeah.
Wasn't Danny Trejo one of the grandparents, or he was like their uncle or something?
Yeah, and he has like a whole spin-off series that's like R-rated.
No, it's not
literally
really
dead.
a spin-off of Spy Kids.
He
no,
is
it is
dead.
because it's the same character.
The character has the same name, but it's definitely not this. Like,
it's the same character.
Donegan Giggles was Mike Judge. Oh my God, it is too. I just didn't even realize that. Selma Hayek comes into this one.
It's the same. You're right. Sorry, it is the same character and same director, but it's just. I mean, come on, Elliot.
I'm just saying, if we're covering Spy Kids, we're also covering the Machete movies.
Yeah.
Okay, so the grandfather is dead, but the grandmother is still alive.
I don't.
She's
really
still
know
acting
who we're
too.
about by the grandfather.
Spy Kids. Because we're now talking about multiple franchises at once.
Who are their grandparents?
Yeah.
Like, what I mean.
So this
like
is
who are the actor and actresses? Or
yeah, looking at the Spy Kids films, I think this is the same as Shrek. I'm pretty sure I've seen the first a bunch of times. I think I saw the second once when it came out, and I remember nothing about it. And after that, I have no idea what these movies are on about.
I don't think I've seen any more than the first one.
Is Shark Boy and Lava Girl part of Spy Kids, or was that a
I
different
don't
thing?
think so.
No, that
I
was
think it's a
different.
different series, but by the same director and kind of clearly.
The same shit.
You know, I've just realised, like, the whole time watching Spy Kids 2, I was thinking, Gertie Giggles looks, like, super familiar. I think she was Hannah Montana's best friend.
Emily Osment.
Not
Who
that
is
I watched
Gertie
a lot
Giggles?
of...
What are we even talking about?
Yeah.
yeah, okay, true.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah. She was Lily Truscott in the Disney Channel television series Hannah Montana.
Yeah, there you go. Why did she look familiar? She was good.
I feel really bad, like, just talking about Sky Kids, because Alan Cumming, I've seen him in
Sky
so
Kids.
much
Now
stuff.
that's a spin-off.
Yeah, but,
yeah,
like,
that would be great.
even after like 10 seasons of The Good Wife and The Good Fight, Alan Cumming is still, to me,
It's still Floop.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
he totally is. You're right. When I think of
never
Alan
unsee
Cumming,
him
I
as
don't
Floop.
think of his character from The Good Wife, which is by far a better role.
I think of the fact that Floop was for some reason in The Good Wife.
And like, also, not only is he like a main character in The Good Wife for at least 7 seasons, it's like you know, he would have been on screen for 50 hours. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous that this 1 hour fucking stint as Floop has been more memorable to me than 50 hours of Eli
You know what
Gold.
else? Him as Nightcrawler from X-Men 2 always is in my head whenever I see him as well.
Is he Nightcrawler?
He
Yeah.
is, with the German
Whoa.
accent.
There you go.
That's hilarious.
Should we talk about Shrek again?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, where are we up to?
We're talking about
King
how
Harold's dead.
Shrek shouldn't be king because of many, many reasons.
Yeah.
So, the last thing I think Ruben mentioned, like, Arthur has come into it. And this is just one of these things with Shrek 3 where I'm just kind of sitting here, like, with question marks above my head, because they do the whole Arthurian legend, like, references, like Lancelot is at the school, Guinevere's at the school, Merlin is his magic teacher, but there's nothing to it. Like, the references don't tie into the story, the way they don't go anywhere. It's just like, you know what would be funny or easier than coming up with your own characters? Let's do Arthurian characters.
You know what a line that Hannah and I did, you just reminded me that Hannah and I did have a good laugh at, was when he goes, "Oh, Gwen, I've always loved you," and she just goes,
Ew.
"Ew."
I
some
did
reason,
really
it just
like the
really
high
got
school
us.
sequence. The high school
Yeah.
sequence was just so good.
It was good.
Oh, it was
Anyway.
fantastic. Like, the mixture of like Shakespearean,
Yes.
like, high school lines was great. Like, I loved seeing like people coming out of, like, you know, the fucking hot box van and just being like, "Whoa." Like,
My favorite was the line where Gwen says, "My friend Tiffany, like, thinketh thou vexes her so soothly," and that really cracks me up. Oh, so good.
I also really liked how when Artie gets like wedgied on the basketball or something thing, and Shrek's like to Lancelot, who's the Chad, like, "Oh yeah, nice one," or something. He's like, "Oh, it wasn't me." And it's like the two nerds with like massive braces who were playing chess out the front. Like, he's such a loser that the stereotypical losers have bullied him, and they're just like at the top. So I found that really funny too.
That was good.
yeah, there's really a lot to like in this
Yeah,
sequence.
this is a really
It's just
good
like,
movie, isn't it?
it's just a shame that it's only 5 minutes.
We've also
and then,
just skipped ahead in the plot. Like, we've just skipped
Yeah,
ahead
but
to
like, who cares? Am I
we've
right?
skipped like 4 scenes because we're just like, yeah.
But
Skip to the high
really,
school stuff.
I'd rather talk about Shark Boy and Lava Girl because I haven't seen it,
Because
but
it stars Taylor Lautner
It
and
does.
some chick.
wait,
but
really?
Yes,
also,
Taylor Lautner. Before he
I
was in
found this
Twilight.
out. I was just looking at the Wikipedia page. Robert Rodriguez, who directed Spy Kids and also Shark Boy and Lava Girl, also composed the score for Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which is like,
Oh.
I think that's really cool because coming from the game dev world, a lot of indie kind of auteur developers are responsible for making their whole thing, or like, you'll maybe see like a Neil Breen who does like all the things in his film. But I feel like I've never seen a big-ish film
Yeah.
where the director also composes the score. That's just so wild. I love it.
Well, because
Yeah.
it's also like it's not like something that you feel like somebody could just sort of throw together. Like if you
Yeah.
asked me now, like, oh, can you just prepare the score for
Yeah, just quickly make
even
a
a
score.
5-minute? I'd be like, no, I don't even know where to start. Like I have no idea how to do that.
Mm.
Do you want me to pull down KK Slider remixes off YouTube? Because I've got good skills on that. But if that's not what your movie soundtrack is, then I'm
If
useless.
that's not what you mean by a soundtrack, then
Imagine if there was a film where the score was just KK Slider remixes. I guess it would be the Animal Crossing movie, which I don't think does have that, but anyway.
I would love an Animal Crossing movie that was just nothing. Like, because the whole point of the game is, and there's a Japanese word for it that I forget, but like, it's just meant to be that sense of just calm you get from just
Yeah.
doing daily chores and not having any pressure or doing anything important.
Yeah.
And just like the idea of a 90-minute movie where we just watch a CGI character like sort through their mail, move some furniture around, go fishing, like just 90 minutes of fucking nothing. I think that would be hilarious.
I mean, there is an Animal Crossing movie, and I think I've watched part of it, and it is about as boring as that. So you're not too far off, Elliot.
Sorry, now I'm Googling if there really is an Animal Crossing.
No, there
movie.
is. It's like a Japanese, a bunch of video games, Japanese video games like that have movies that came out and went straight to DVD in Japan. Like there are a bunch of like Professor Layton films and stuff as well, and they're all pretty trash. They're very anime.
Yeah, like I was reading about the Splatoon manga a couple of months ago when I was catching up on my Splatoon lore because I was trying to explain to people how fucked up Splatoon is.
Mm.
And there's like manga that's only in Japan for Splatoon, and I was like, oh, why don't they release this garbage internationally?
So I can not buy it.
Yeah, so I can download a shitty copy just to read about genocides of squid people.
Shrek.
Yeah, Shrek. So Shrek, Prince Charming does a thing, right? He's getting his villain squad. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get all these baddies, and we're gonna do a thing.
Yeah, and I really liked the idea of this at the start, like because Charming goes to the villain bar, and again, it's just like a shittier version of the exact same bar we saw in Shrek 2. But I kind of liked it better because here Charming comes in and sort of challenges the idea of happily ever after for the villains. He's like, "Oh, all the heroes go off and they have their happily ever afters, and you guys are stuck here being hated by society, like blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, this is like the most Shrek thing we've seen in this movie so far, which is like challenging fairy tale nonsense and sticking up for the baddies." And I was like, "Oh, this is super interesting. Let's see where it goes." And the answer is not really anywhere interesting.
Yeah.
Not super far.
Like again, this movie has a bunch of pieces of things that could have been done really well, and it just doesn't stick the landing, and it's so frustrating because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, oh, this could be really cool. And then it just kind of isn't. And it's sad.
Yeah.
And because you get like, I almost feel like part of the problem this movie has, because we've just moved on from the high school part. We keep talking about how great that was.
Which, by the way, did we mention the name of the school?
Oh, yeah. Like
I didn't fully get that.
It's just a Worcestershire joke. I can't say the name of it, and that's the joke.
Isn't it Worcestershire?
Yeah. That's
like,
it.
that's
there's
the thing, like,
there's not really a joke there.
It was just because it's hard to pronounce. Because I was like, but what does that have to do with high school? I was really confused.
Nothing.
Oh, okay,
You're giving it too much credit, George.
I'm overthinking it. Great. Sweet.
Like this is the trap Shrek 3 keeps falling into. It's the same with the whole Arthurian stick. Like there's no reason for him to be Arthur. They just were like, oh, that's a funny reference.
It's easier than coming up with something else.
It lets them easily set up the shorthand for the jokes for Lancelot and Gwendolyn or Guinevere or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Guinevere. Is that a thing?
Guinevere.
Guinevere.
Yeah, like thinking about the high school thing, like honestly, if this whole movie didn't have Shrek in it and was just about Arthur at the high school, like I would rather watch that film than this one. like this is the like Shrek 2 came up with the great Hollywood in far, far away shtick, and this film came up with the great Shakespearean high school drama shtick, but because it has to be about Shrek, it's only there for 5 minutes, and it's like, no, scrap the other 85 minutes, blow this out to 90. It's the most compelling part of the whole movie.
Because another plot point that we did skip although we have mentioned it already, is that Shrek finds out that Fiona is pregnant. And it's just like, I didn't need a whole movie about that. Like,
that's
that's
just
pretty much all that the Shrek plot is about, is him being like, oh, coming to grips with being pregnant. It's just not that interesting.
I think the plot line of Shrek coming to terms with being a dad like is actually kind of interesting, like the way Arthur naturally slots into his son role, the stuff with his own parents that Ruben's touched on, the stuff with
Yeah,
Prince Charming and his mum. Like, there's a way for it all to have come together,
that's
but
true. Maybe
like,
it just was the way it was done was not,
yeah, it was
made it
done poorly,
feel
and that's
like
why you
I
feel
was
that
just
way.
hearing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I actually thought that Arthur and Shrek stuff, like, it came so close to working on me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I do. I agree.
the bits where Shrek is realizing, like, oh, I'm actually starting to play the role of a father figure, and kind of getting the confidence in his abilities as a dad from that. Like, that genuinely I thought was quite compelling. But again, just like, it just doesn't pan out.
I think it's
There's just not enough
partly,
there.
and is it partly because they did it so like heavy-handed? Like, it's about, I think they've met each other like 5 minutes, and they already do that scene where like Artie's kind of storming off after they crash the boat. And then he's
Yeah.
like, come back here, young man, or some like generic dad thing to
Yeah.
say. And I was like, it's been 5 minutes and you've already
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
shoved it down our throats that this is like, you know, going to be like, you already know where this whole relationship is going to end. You're like, oh, so it's going to end with Shrek being like a parental figure. It's like, they could have done it more subtly. It would have been more interesting.
Well, they
Yeah.
yo-yo all over the place, and it's in a very unearned way, is what it felt like to me. Like, yeah, they have this big blow up on the ship, and you're like, okay, I see where this is going. And then they kind of have one quick chat at the fireside, and suddenly they're completely on the same page.
Mm.
And that's just because in the next scene, that's where Shrek has to like send Artie away, and so he fucking, does the whole like, I don't love you, and I never did, and I was tricking you thing to send him away. And that works. And then, like, after 30 seconds with Donkey and Puss later, he completely turns around
Flips
again.
back around again, yeah.
And it's just like, he's
so
just
fickle.
yo-yoing so quickly and so easily. And that's part of why it doesn't land, is it's just like, it's so low effort. And it's because this movie, I think it's just doing too many things. Like, we keep talking about, Charming could fit into the father thing because of this, or, we've got this cool idea for the villains, being treated unfairly. Like, this show brings up just all these balls, and then it can't juggle them all, and so they all hit the ground. And it's like, if this movie picked half of the plot threads it brought up and just did them better, it would work so much better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, if you cut out everything that didn't have to do with like being a parent from this film, I think you could put something much better together.
Yeah. I do like the line though where, like, just after they've like crashed the ship, which I'm skipping ahead a little bit again, but after they've crashed the ship and Artie's like stormed off, and Shrek then does this really unfunny shtick of trying to like talk like leet speak and like talk like some kind
that
of
also
it was the worst.
that
It was
was so
almost
far
so bad that it
around.
was funny. Like,
No, that it got there for me. It was
Yeah.
so far around the edge that it worked, which is clearly what they were going for. And so
I
was
don't
kinda
know.
like,
I don't know.
alright.
I cringed massively, but I did like then at the end, just as you're thinking, oh God, this is really bad. And then Artie's like, help, this guy's trying to relate to me or something.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
No, it was help. This monster's kidnapped me, and now it's trying to relate to me.
Yeah, that's it. That was pretty funny.
We skipped over what maybe was my favorite part of the film, though,
Yeah.
which is this
Yes.
bit where Charming busts in to get the princesses, and instead finds Gingy and the pigs and the wolf and Pinocchio, and goes to interrogate Gingy. And Gingy has like a whole series of his life flashing before his eyes, and it's just so out of left field, and it makes no sense, and it's fucking delightful. It's like the best part of the movie because it just is like rapid fire jokes that have no relation to the plot at all, but just completely land.
Yeah, well, this is the sort of joke that works because it's out of left field and doesn't fit into everything else.
Yeah.
Like, if there were more of these, then so many of the other jokes would land better. Because this one just, it works because it doesn't fit in, because it's just
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Suddenly we're watching him get married, then he loses his feet to Farquaad, then he's going through physical therapy to get his
Yeah,
walking back. Like, it's
fucking hell.
just, it's
It's
bizarre.
so good. God,
So
is this actually a good movie?
this is one of the things that I picked up from Mum and Dad. That was a reference to something.
Oh, shit,
flashback.
was it?
I think they said
the
$6 million man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they fucking love that. Yeah, they talk. Dad talks about that all the time. Yeah, okay.
So apparently
That's
it was a
kind of
reference to
disappointing.
that. I don't know anything about $6 million man. So
I think it's a guy who gets injured in a car crash and gets made into a robot.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
Like it's like
That
Inspector
happens.
Gadget, but
Happens to all of
serious.
us.
Is my understanding of $6 million man.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it didn't come totally from nowhere.
Yeah, that actually makes me like it less.
Yeah, same.
Annoyingly, I thought it was so just wild that I loved it, but now that I know that it's not that, it has kind of soured the joy of it to me.
Thanks, Georgia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you really
me
fucked us,
soz.
Georgia.
Yeah. Apparently, it even has the $6 million man theme music and the sound effects from the film.
Oh, you're making it worse. Stop.
Yeah. Well, never mind. This is a bad movie again. So yeah, cutting back to the castle, the princesses have all been kidnapped, but then they escape from being kidnapped, but then they are betrayed by Rapunzel and then are re-kidnapped. And like, okay, cool.
Honestly, I don't remember that series of events, but that sounds right.
Yeah, and then they escape again, and then they get captured again by Charming at the end. Like, they just keep escape. I don't know. It's almost something, but it's just, again, not quite something.
Yeah, this is the plot line that more than any of the others just is nothing. Like, I was so happy at first that the princesses, and particularly Fiona, actually had a plot, because I
Had
thought we were
something to
just
do,
leaving
yeah.
them behind like we did in Shrek 2. But yeah, like there's not the closest I can come to sort of identifying a theme to this area, like this plot line, is girl power, but
Is that a theme?
also not.
Does that count as a theme?
Yeah, I don't know. Like it just kind of falls flat. Like it's just, it feels like they heard the criticism that like Fiona was sidelined in Shrek 2, and they're like, oh, we'll give her a plot, but we won't put any effort into it.
Oh,
Yeah,
we'll show you
for a plot,
sidelined.
a bad one. Yeah.
I mean, it has its moments. Like Snow White was actually a standout to me.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like she had that like Mean Girls energy to all of it, which I actually just really enjoyed, because like it was like a shitty Mean Girls energy, but like shitty Mean Girls is still like 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
And like the bit where she summons all the woodland creatures to that Led Zeppelin song was great. Like there's moments.
Sleeping Beauty was like really boring.
Oh, except when she trips the guards. I love the bit where they're all having their moments where they take out a bunch of guards and then she just like falls asleep to trip them.
I was thinking that was the bit that I thought was dumb.
I love that bit because it's such a shit power. Like all of the princesses have their superpowers, and hers is a trip hazard.
Yeah.
It's great.
But something that like Hannah kept pointing out while we were watching, she's like this huge thing in the first film is how badass Fiona is. Like she's like a cool like ninja, and she kicks like a guy maybe. Like she does very little. She does very little fighting. She keeps like getting captured, and Hannah's like, in the first movie, she took out like with Robin Hood's men, she took out like 20 guys, and now like one guy grabs her, and she's like, you won't get away with this. What? Kick him.
She was human there. Maybe all of her martial arts, like her human body is honed.
That's
but
an interesting
her ogre body,
theory.
like the different proportions, she can't do kung fu anymore.
She can't do matrix pauses in the air anymore because that's something that you train your body to, your physical body to do.
Yeah. She needs to do more ogre sit-ups.
As opposed to the human sit-ups. Very different.
Yeah.
We've cracked it.
I think that's true. I think it's her humanity is what gives her strength. Hey, can we talk about this bit where they
because that really ties into the lesson of the first film in a fun way, doesn't it?
Hmm.
You're uglier and also weaker and more pathetic.
Yeah,
Only
just
pretty
terrible
people
in
can
every
defend
way.
themselves.
Only pretty people are badass. Because it also just felt like as well, I don't know, it's like a really lazy feminism. It's when it's just like, and the girls can fight. And like I get the
Mm.
thing, like it was funny when, they're like, girls assume the positions, and then they just go to like look like they
Turn
need
helpless
rescuing.
mode. That
Like
was
that
funny.
was
I laughed
funny.
at that.
But then it's like, and now they can fight, and so that's feminism. It's like, they could have
Yeah.
just like done something that was more believable that they could maybe do. I don't know. It's just an easy way to be feminist.
Mm.
I liked your comparison to that like moment in Endgame where it just feels like the goal was hashtag feminism,
Mm.
and they didn't really know how to get there because it was probably a bunch of dudes in the
Yeah,
writers'
it's like
room.
it's nice because people like when people are trying to be feminist, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
like a bit of like somebody who doesn't really maybe know what sexism is, so then they're
Yeah.
not too sure what feminism is, and then they're like, "Duh, we just chuck a bunch of women on screen and they are really masculine, then that's probably feminism."
Then that's feminism.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like the Glenn from Superstore type, where it's like it's nice that you're trying, but also fuck you suck at this.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are we up to?
I think we're here.
Oh yeah. No, we haven't talked about that fight scene where Shrek and Arthur fight Hook and the
Oh.
goons. Because I want
I
to
you
talk
have
have
about
something
no
to
these.
say
memory of
about it?
this.
I
I
do,
have no
because I
memory of
really
this.
liked
When is
Captain Hook.
this?
The bit you'll
Oh
remember,
no, sorry.
Georgia,
Yeah, I remember that.
is the
Yep.
bit where Captain Hook, they're about to capture Shrek, and Captain Hook says, make him walk the plank. And then they put a plank on the ground and force Shrek to walk over it. And it's so fucking stupid. I loved it.
Also, isn't he playing the piano for most
Yes,
of the
he
fight?
is the entire time. Captain Hook is the best character in this movie.
He is.
And he only has about 5 combined minutes of screen time, but he's just so delightful.
And did you recognize his voice?
No?
Is it Jeffrey Rush?
No, you're
'Cause
close.
he sounds
I
a
thought
lot
it
like
sounded
like
a
it
lot
did
like
sound
Jeffrey
a lot like
Rush in
him.
Pirates.
It is somebody who played a prominent pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my god, is it Gibbs?
No.
Ah.
He was only in one film. It was the worst film.
Oh,
Was it
like the guy who played
Benicio del Toro?
Blackbeard?
Yeah, it was the guy who played Blackbeard, Ian McShane.
Sure.
Ian McShane.
Okay.
And check out
yeah.
this thing I just posted in the script. This is Ian McShane's page on the Shrek wiki. Pay particular attention to the one comment on the page because I just really enjoy it.
Okay, so I should
Hello,
know
are you
that.
there? You check this page, right? Ian.
So this comment, there's this wiki page for Ian McShane, and it basically just has like one sentence saying he played Captain Hook in Shrek the Third, and he also played Blackbeard in Pirates 4. And then there's just one comment from a user named Sundered FPS who asks, "Hello, is this Ian McShane?" As if they're on the phone.
They ask it on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February 2021, which is really weird, right? Does that strike anyone else as weird? Like, what are they doing on Valentine's Day that they ended up making a comment
Or
on
does
Ian
it make
McShane's Shrek
perfect sense?
Like, were they just desperately looking to try and get in touch with Ian McShane for Valentine's Day?
What did you do for Valentine's Day? I went to a bunch of wikis to try and find out which one is really Ian
to try and see
McShane.
if Ian McShane was updating his own entry on the Shrek wiki page.
He wasn't.
Well, I mean, there's no response, so it's inconclusive.
Yeah, he replies no.
Yeah, I
Is this
dare
Ian
one of you to
McShane?
go log
No.
in and write
And
no.
say, yes, this is Ian McShane. How can I help you?
Arg, this is Ian McShane.
I'm creating an account on the wiki right now called Ian McShane.
Oh, you're gonna strike up a romance with this.
Oh, I'm catfishing this person for sure.
You have to do your best pirate voice, Elliot.
Well, no, I'll just type. It's my best pirate typing.
Oh,
That's
yes,
easy.
true.
Yarg, this be Ian McShane. Yarg,
Yeah, this be me. This be me, Ian. Captain McShane, as I call myself.
Now I'm just like, SpongeBob me boy.
So yeah,
Shrek.
Shrek is caught by Prince Charming, and Shrek gets Arthur to leave. There's a bit of like forced conflict between them, and it's pretty bland.
Yeah, this is about the point in the movie where I gave up on it all coming together. Like, obviously, we've talked to death about how there's all these great ideas the movie brings up and doesn't deliver on. And up until this point, I was sort of like, oh, maybe it'll come together and it'll be good, actually. And I think just watching Arthur and Shrek sort of have this bad thing, I was like, oh, I don't think it is going to. And this is a bummer scene for me, because this is the moment where I realized it wasn't all going to magically sort of merge.
And I think it like fell short because the relationship they'd established was like so unearned, like we talked about before. It's like they had one nice conversation that it's kind of like, am I supposed to be sad about the breakdown of this 32-year-old relationship that they've built?
Is this meant to feel like a betrayal? Like,
like they were barely friends. They've fought more than they've been friends.
It's so clearly Shrek is just trying to help Arthur by getting rid of him, that it just feels weird that Arthur, who comes across as relatively smart in this film, doesn't get this very obvious thing that he's doing.
That's true. So you spend the whole time, instead of thinking like, oh no, you're just like, how do you seriously not get that, Artie?
Yeah, like Arthur, how much better would this film have been if, because Shrek and Arthur had bonded a bit, he understood what he was doing and then was able to come back at the right time to rescue Shrek and the gang without that weird scene where
he walked so slowly out of the hospital. Out of the castle. Yeah. It had been like 1,000 years, and then all this stuff had happened, and then they run into Artie. I was like, how is he still here?
Yeah, like, why? Like, they had to have Puss and Donkey just randomly find him outside and then go back to the plot that they were in the middle of.
So
like,
unlikely.
What? It doesn't make any sense.
And especially since it had seriously been like hours. Like, that's from the plot. I thought, I was like, it's been so long. He's just been sitting there. I'd just be like, nah, should I keep walking out of the castle?
Yeah, weird. So weird, this movie. Just, yeah. Now, I was going to carry on with the notes, but Elliot's put something here, and I don't know what it is. But I do like that Prince Farquaad loves Cora 88%.
That's Katara.
I'm sorry, Katara. Yeah.
Yeah, so I signed up for an account on the Shrek wiki, and it took me to the community page, and these were the top 4 posts. Shrek loves Fiona 99%. Farquaad loves Fiona 80%. So Farquaad loves Katara 88%.
88%. Who's this fourth person?
I don't know, but Farquaad only loves them 70%. So it
almost looks like Sabine Wren, but she's wearing like not Mandalorian armor. But I can't zoom in on it.
She's got long hair too. It's not Sabine's hair.
Does she? Yeah, she does too.
Do you remember in season 4 of Star Wars Rebels, and Sabine just has like solid hair, like her hair doesn't fade into a different color? Fuck, I was mad about that.
Yeah, I remember you messaging me like, what happened to her hair?
Literally, my favorite part of Rebels was Sabine's hair, and they took it away from season 4, and I was filthy.
But going back to this,
orange-haired
what are these
girl
percentages pertaining to?
How much they love each other. That's why loves is.
But who's decided that? I'm really
that is
confused.
Artem. That sounds like a real name, so I won't read out that whole name. But some user on the Shrek wiki.
Like, so that person's just decided, or is it like a vote? Is what I'm trying to, I guess.
No, there is
ask.
A separate poll. I've also posted the results of a poll. Princess Fiona and Lord Farquaad, they want together.
I see that.
And I voted yes, and so have the other 3 people who voted.
Okay, I hate to say it, folks, but I've Googled orange hair cartoon girl jean shorts, and I'm not finding who it is.
Is there too many options or too few?
I got a picture of Merida from Brave and a picture of Fry from Futurama, but apart from that, I'm not seeing anybody who I recognize.
Can't you image search on Google?
Is it Misty from Pokemon? No.
It's not
Okay,
missing
I'll do a
Pokemon.
reverse image search.
Unless
and see
it's
if
one
we
of
get
those like
anywhere
new
there.
age Pokemon.
Georgia, do you remember Once Upon a Forest? It's a movie we had on VHS in Perth.
Yes, I do.
Did we talk
Um,
about this already on the show, or was that just you and me?
No, that
talking
was
about
that was when
Probably.
we would play Fall Guys. So I couldn't remember the name of it the other night when I was playing games with Reuben. So I just Googled movie animals gas attack make plane out of twigs kids film,
That's really
and the
long.
top hit Google was like, "Oh, did you mean Once Upon a Forest?" And I was like, "What the fuck? I mean, I did, but how did you get
It's like,
that from there?"
yes, I
Like,
did.
honestly, that's the most scared I've ever been of Google. I can't believe that they put my string of nonsense plot points together into the exact movie title I was thinking of.
Okay, it's April O'Neil, folks. I think it's April O'Neil
From
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Elliot, do you not
Oh,
know who April O'Neil is? Shame
I
on you.
don't.
She's the character who was played by Megan Fox in the Michael Bay film.
I don't know that I've ever seen a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie or TV show.
Well, that more fool you, pal. April O'Neil is a human Krang hybrid who is a friend of the turtles. What the fuck does that mean?
It's a Krang.
Human Krang
Hybrid.
hybrid. What is that? Wow. The human Krang hybrids were created by the Krang. Oh,
But
okay.
who are the
You could've-
Krang?
Reuben, you clearly could have skipped the middleman here and just Googled what a Krang is.
All
Like,
right.
you knew she was a hybrid. I don't know why you're searching about the hybrids.
You know, the Krang, they're
Oh, God,
telepathically
they're ugly.
enslaved hive mind faction of Utroms. You know, Utroms. God, how many wiki pages do I have to go before I get an answer to this? Okay, sorry.
How many
The
steps-
Utroms are an alien race from Dimension X. Okay, so let's go into that one. Oh no, we've looped around. The Dimension X is just the home dimension of the Krang. Never mind.
So there's no answer. But this,
Wow.
I've got the
Okay.
Krang is like a person. Like it's
Yeah, are you getting the guy with
No,
the brain in his gut?
Yeah.
Krang is a Marvel. Oh no, Krang.
No. I'm looking
Krang
at
is
somebody who teams
also
up
a-
with Shredder. I'm 90% sure Shredder's
Yeah,
the baddie in
okay.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So wait, Krang is a character from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but also the Krang with two A's. Sorry, are
Oh yeah.
sorry, Krang Prime is Krang. Okay,
This
No,
says
so I'm
in the
getting Krang
2012
subprime.
series, Krang is not Krang, but the it literally says that Krang is not Krang, but the Krang with two A's is a plural name for the species of aliens.
Yes, sorry, Krang is.
Unbelievable.
It does say it. It says,
Krang
in the
is not
2012
Krang.
series, Krang is not Krang. It's right there.
I don't know what that means.
It all makes sense now.
Oh, God.
Do you think they mean that Krang is not a Krang, one of the Krang species?
He was
I
voiced
don't
by
know.
Gilbert Gottfried,
Yeah.
who also played Dr. Bender in Fairly Odd Parents. That is not what you credit Gilbert Gottfried for. What are you talking about?
God, I love wikis. That's what this show's really about. Just reading fan wikis for things.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried is credited as Iago in Disney's
Yeah.
Aladdin after Mr. Mxyzptlk in Superman the Animated Series.
Wow.
Like,
And that's not how you pronounce that, Elliot.
yeah, I
think
used
it's
to know how to pronounce it.
Mxyzptlk.
That's it.
Um,
I remember that was a thing in I'm Actually once, and I was like, fuck, I've seen this episode of Supergirl.
Mr. Mxyzptlk is a very fun character. Speaking of credits, can we talk about the fact that John Cleese is credited like fourth in this film in Shrek 3?
Yeah, he dies
Over,
like 2 seconds in.
Justin Timberlake. Yeah, he's in one scene. He's got like 1 minute of screen time, and he gets a higher billing than Justin Timberlake, who's like one of the main characters,
Or Eric Idle.
or Eric Idle,
Or any of the female actresses.
Which actually, can we just say, Reuben and I, when we first heard Merlin, both of us were like, "Oh, is that John Oliver?" And it turned out to be Eric Idle.
It sounds so much like John Oliver, but
Did actually, yeah.
Against our defense, I guess, in our offense, it also sounds a lot like Eric Idle when he was voicing Wreck-Gar, the Junkatron from Transformers.
Oh fuck! I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, that's Eric Idle.
Oh, what's the
I
universal
don't know,
greeting?
Elliot. I don't know.
I want to make a joke about the universal greeting, but I don't remember it.
All right, I'm googling it.
No, honestly though, the cast. Can we talk about how the
Okay,
cast?
Elliot. It's...
Like, yeah, that
Oh
sounds
my
right.
god! It's bar weep grog na weep ninny bong.
That's it. Weeping Diddy Bong. I remember
Oh, I
that. Yep.
love that. I've got to look it up.
Georgia, have you ever seen that the Transformers movie from like the 80s?
Yeah, you made me watch it with you, but then I fell asleep for the whole thing. So
That's right.
yes and
Yeah.
no.
Oh, what a film.
Hmm.
So can we also just talk about how the cast for Shrek 3 is just so much better than the quality of this film would imply? So like I kept
Yeah.
thinking Snow White sounded familiar and I googled it halfway through. It's Amy Poehler.
Yeah, it's not that you were talking about Mean Girls, and
Yeah.
I meant to mention that it's actually Amy Poehler who
Um,
voices the character.
And Maya Rudolph is Rapunzel, I think.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of really high quality SNL alums
Amy
in this
Sedaris
movie.
is Cinderella.
Yeah, like, but why? Why are they all in this bad film? I mean, the pay was probably really good.
Seth Rogen is ship captain.
That was Seth Rogen?
Yeah, I'm just reading that right now.
Wait, sorry. Who was Seth Rogen?
Ship
The
captain.
ship captain.
Just some random ship captain.
Wait, in this film?
Yeah.
He was He was the
John
The
I
ship
wanna say
captain
he
that they
was a
kept like
Viking?
shitting on.
John
Yeah.
Krasinski was Lancelot.
Wait, what? John Krasinski?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
This movie, the cast
Sorry, I
is
got
just
distracted watching
ridiculous.
the Transformers
Well, there's
Universal
Ian
Greeting
McShane as
YouTube
Captain
video.
Hook.
Yeah, like the cast of this film is so much better than it deserves.
But yeah. Even
Hey-
JT being in it, you know.
Georgia, can you tell me something?
Maybe.
That bit where Julie Andrews headbutts a wall, was that a reference to something?
Yeah, the power of feminism.
'Cause,
That's
like-
just what us women do behind in our cages.
Yeah, you know
'Cause-
that stereotype of like, the girls sleepover where they have pillow fights. That's incorrect. They're
And
just
they
knocking the
walls,
fuck
yeah.
down out of all the walls.
Because that really was a whole new level of out of nowhere, right? Like, I'm not just making that up. Like, it felt really strange.
Yeah, it just was nothing.
Came out of nowhere,
It was
yeah.
absolutely nothing.
So yeah, then I guess
Sorry, no, but it speaks to the like again, if you think about it, Fiona is half frog, half human, and it's the human side of her that kicks ass.
that
And
is
it's
the
just
badass
reinforcing
side. You're right.
this,
Yeah.
this lineage that she has.
Do you guys
Yeah.
know who voiced like Doris the ugly stepsister?
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember
it's
looking
Larry
it up.
King.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right,
it's
Larry King. Yes, so
What the
weird.
fuck? So
God.
good. Oh, amazing.
So yeah, they go to the play and we get the showdown with the film, and this is by far the least interesting part of the movie. So I really have nothing. Like there's a few segments to go behind the curtain for a bit. The way we do this is I write down kind of a thing that happens, a plot point, and then we just kind of leave notes about that part of the movie. There's like 4 parts of our script here where I've written down a plot point and none of us really have anything to say. So like this is just the most blah part of this movie.
Yeah, it's just it all doesn't come together.
Yeah, and that's that.
The end.
Like, yeah, I mean, I will say with the whole Prince Charming thing, something that I hate, and I know I've gone on about this in a bunch of our podcasts, is when you have a villain who has a good point, and then everyone pretends like that point doesn't matter because they were the villain. Like Amon from season 1 of Clara is always my go-to example. Everyone just drops the anti-Bender stuff after Amon gets defeated at the end of season 1 of Clara, and it's like, no, he actually had a really good point, and just because he was full of shit, it doesn't invalidate his argument.
Yeah.
And they do the opposite of that here. To this movie's credit, even though Charming is full of shit and is just like chasing his own happily ever after by abusing all the villains, the other villains turn on him, and everyone else is like, oh, let's accept the villains into society now. And so like the movement Charming accidentally started for his own like selfish needs actually takes off and becomes a thing. And I was like, I like that part.
Yeah, I want to touch on this because like this is such a way that plots are resolved in especially like 80s or 90s films. The idea of like a bad guy who's rallying people to his cause, and then we get them to say something, say a gaffe accidentally, and then suddenly it tears apart their whole propaganda empire. And I remember I was listening to a podcast and somebody brought up that plot point, and I apologize if this is going to curse you all forever, but that plot point has been proven by the 2016 US elections to just not be how the world works at all. Like, if you have an evil but to some people charismatic villain, no matter how many terrible things they say, people will still believe in them.
Yeah.
And ever since I've heard that, somebody explain that, this plot point has never worked for me ever again, just because it's just clearly not how the world works.
But
so
also I'm talking about the opposite. Like this is more the thing where like, it turns out that somebody who is like, leading part of the Pride movement or something made a homophobic joke 10 years ago and they get like cancelled, and it's like, but like, depending on all these circumstances or whatever, it's sort of like, that doesn't mean that the work they were doing was good, and maybe we like hand it off to someone else now, like whatever. It's just like so many times movies will like have a villain have that moment, and then it's like, and so now the whole movement means nothing. So yeah, like both ways, I guess. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I actually just really appreciated the way this movie had, despite charming being the charismatic leader who got taken down, his movement still went somewhere because it was actually a good point that he had.
I do like the bit too where the tree's just like, well, that's all right for you, Zeb. You're not an evil talking tree.
Yeah.
It's like,
I really
good
enjoyed
point.
the trees in this whole movie. They're animated in a really funny way, so they like waddle.
Yeah,
Like they're actually just adorable.
they are. Do you want a little trivia question?
Yeah, give us some trivia.
So,
Okay.
this film was released in the UK on June the 29th, 2007. It topped the country's box office for the next 2 weekends before being dethroned by which Harry Potter film? This is a test of what.
I don't know.
I want to say.
What is your correct?
5? Order of the Phoenix?
Oh, good guess. Yeah, it was. I just can't remember, honestly. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and I was thinking 2007, which Harry Potter movie would that be? I have no idea. I'd have to sit and think about it for like 20 minutes.
Nah, go off vibes.
Okay, here I've got another question that I prepared during watching this movie because I was tuned out by this point.
Yeah.
Shrek is the second highest grossing animated film franchise of all time. What do you think the first highest is?
Cars.
Animated film? Yeah. Maybe
Good
Toy
guess.
Story? Or
Incorrect.
Frozen?
No.
So hang on, it's not Cars, it's not Toy Story. What was the other one?
I said Frozen.
Oh, Frozen.
It's not Toy Story. That surprises me.
Highest
Yeah,
grossing,
Toy
highest
Story is
grossing.
on the rise. And the fact that they keep bringing out movies, but
I mean, is it Land Before Time?
If
we're talking about number of
a bit
films.
optimistic, I think.
If we're talking about number of films, it could be Land Before Time. There's so many of them.
Maybe like Scooby-Doo?
so Toy Story is number 4.
Whoa.
Ice Age is number 3.
Ice Age, right. Fuck.
Is it Disney Pixar, number 1?
No.
Huh. Oh, Despicable Me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, of course.
And then
Fucking
pretty much from
Minions.
there, it goes Despicable Me, Shrek, Ice Age,
God,
and then
Despicable
it's all
Me
Disney.
tops Shrek. That's wild.
That's crazy.
It's pretty
That
close. There's
baffles the
only
mind.
$200,000.
Oh, wow.
No, sorry,
That's
200
really-
million.
Oh, okay. Still pretty close. I mean, that's like a Minions too, surely.
Oh yeah, we're talking 3.7 billion as opposed to 3.5.
Mm.
Are
Are there more Despicable Me movies coming out? Are they still making those, or are they still making Minions movies?
Yeah,
What's happening with that?
Fucking Minions.
It says the highest grossing on here is Minions, which got just over $1 billion. It's the only movie on here that's over. Oh no, Toy
Surely
Story
they're
4.
making a Minions too.
Well, that's Illumination. They're too busy making Chris
Making a
Pratt be
Mario
really
movie.
cool Mario.
But Illumination doesn't take a long time to turn out their movies. Isn't the
No,
whole
that's
thing
true.
that they churn out really kind of shoddily animated films?
Yeah, that is why Nintendo chose them to make the Mario movie, because they were like the economical choice, and it was like, oh, okay, interesting strategy to get back into
Wow.
the game with the,
Then,
with the
so the next Minions movie is called Minions: The Rise of Gru, which is really interesting because, like, Despicable Me is about Gru, so clearly they've just completely pivoted the series to be called Minions. Like,
Yeah.
they know what's earning them the money, and it ain't fucking Gru. Sorry,
What's
Steve.
the-
Carell.
yeah. It's the Minions memes, right? That's what people
Just
love.
Yeah,
Minions.
Facebook
I hate
memes are
Minions.
how they earn all their
I
money.
hate them so much. Do you want to hear something else interesting? This is under the
No.
heading of fine. No, this is under the heading of controversies on Wikipedia. So
On what page? On just
Shrek?
like the Wikipedia
Oh,
controversies
Shrek 3,
page?
the thing that we are
okay.
definitely talking
Sorry.
about.
Yeah.
Not Despicable Me, sorry. Not Minions.
Gotcha.
Controversies, Minions. George hates them. The end. Yeah, so controversies for Shrek 3. So, the gag that I just said I love so much about the coconuts being used, like from Monty Python. So apparently Eric Idle, because as we now know he voiced Merlin, walked out of the premiere when that joke came up, which is like the first 10 seconds of the film, and claimed to be considering suing the producers for the unauthorized use of the gag.
Damn.
John Cleese,
Did he not
I think,
read the
stayed in
script?
his seat. No, he had like 4 lines.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know, apparently he didn't read the rest of it.
I think it's pretty weird for him to get so upset about that.
Yeah.
I think that was just an excuse because he wanted to walk out.
He didn't want to watch
Yeah.
the film because he was too embarrassed.
Yeah.
And then it says
I mean,
the
walking out is the
producers
right
claimed
call,
they
but-
were the honoring like Idle and Cleese by putting the part in, which I would
Obviously.
actually agree
it's
with.
just a reference.
Well,
It's
yeah.
honoring. Like the movie's full of fucking references.
But it's kind of
That's just
cute when
how
you're
it
like,
works.
oh, it's a Monty Python reference. You're like, oh, actually, 2 of the Monty Python guys are in the movie. That's nice. Like, that's what I think.
I'm completely on the producer's side. That just feels like an
Yeah.
appropriate reference,
Yeah,
particularly
definitely.
given they're in the film. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah. It's
That
anyway.
feels like the most like fucking entertainment channel, like Sunday.
Well, this is also what I've just thought.
controversy.
Let me check the reference. Reference number 47.
Yeah, check your sources, George.
Toronto
Okay?
Star.
We hold ourselves to a high distinction on this show. Okay.
It's not from a wiki. It's from Wikipedia. So it's from
so it's less,
the
it's less
Toronto
reliable.
Star.
Okay. Do we believe the Toronto Star?
I don't know.
guess
And then
so.
they've referenced 99.9 MIX FM.
I mean, like, the thing is, yeah,
The
because this could be one
furious
of those
Monty Python
stories.
star of it. He had no idea they were going to use the joke, even though he stars in it. Stars is strong.
Stars is
Yeah.
strong.
And he says he's now considering legal action against the makers of the movie, which also stars John Cleese, for pinching the infamous
Now,
coconut
John
gag.
Cleese definitely doesn't star in this film. He is in one scene.
He reckons they also stole a lot of his jokes from his hot stage musical Spamalot.
Sure.
Well, that's probably true. I mean, they
Okay.
do have a scene where they're in the high school.
No
right?
idea.
This movie didn't reek of originality. I'm willing to believe they stole from a bunch of different sources.
Yeah, true. Hey, so then let's finish up this film by talking about how it ends, which is with a whimper. It ends, and then there's like a musical number, and like in the first movie, the musical number was really good. In the second movie, it was like, okay, I kind of liked it, but not as much because it had just come hot off the heels of Holding Out for a Hero, which was spectacular. And then in this one, it's trash. Like there's not even there's not an animated sequence like there was in the first two. It's just kind of Donkey and Puss dancing around in front of a black background and credits. And it's so low effort.
It's very lazy. Like the first one, I think we talked about it when we watched the first one. The first one feels like that thing where the animators wanted to like do something fun. Like that segment was for the animators to get to animate the characters dancing, and that was like the passion really came through. And then the second one was a bit like a bit more obligatory, and you know, they'd already done Holding Out with the Hero, so it's kind of fine. This one is just like, I guess we do music at the end of these movies, just fucking chuck them in the credits or some shit. Like,
well, I was thinking, so the first one is I'm a Believer, and it's Eddie Murphy singing.
And then it turns
And then
into
the
like a
second
full
one-
medley, right?
Yeah. And then the second one is Livin' La Vida Loca, and Antonio Banderas joins Eddie Murphy. And so for this movie, I was waiting for Justin Timberlake to join in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he didn't even sing anything. Like in the whole movie, he didn't sing not once, and he has such a beautiful voice. Ridiculous.
He could have done
I hope they
sexy.
paid him less. Yeah. Oh my god, imagine. With like Eddie Murphy and Antonio Banderas just like adding little bits. I would have paid. That would have like made the whole film.
Yeah, that would have made it all worth it. Could we speak actually just in general about the very hit and miss nature of the soundtrack in this film?
Oh yeah.
Because like the standout thing from the first two films was the soundtracks fucking ruled.
Yeah.
And this one's very much like it again, it's a bunch of really cool pop songs, but they just don't slot in the same way. So when John Cleese is having his funeral right at the start of the movie, there's a frog choir that sings this really weird rendition of Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
Which is
I
just
liked that as a song, but it didn't fit at all, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah, well,
weirdly. it didn't fit.
It's a fun Bond theme song that just didn't seem to have any appropriateness to the scene. It didn't fit tonally, and that was the thing that stood out to me with a lot of the weird song choices in this film. Is like it kind of felt like they bought a catalog of like songs, and they're like, oh shit, put this one here, and
Yeah, but like, so this is the thing to me is I swear I thought this film must have had such a lower budget because like it feels like they skimped out on some of those animated sequences. Like some of the fight sequences had much worse animation. They didn't get as many recognizable or high quality songs. But looking at it, the budget for this movie was 10 million more than the previous. Like, did they fuck it up? What happened?
it didn't go to the writing staff. It must have gone for like. Again, all these cast members,
It
like
must have gone to John Cleese.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a classic sequel thing. It's sort of more money doesn't equal more quality. I mean, that was the whole thing. Like Shrek 1, right? It went through development hell a bunch of times. It was like the punishment movie, and
Yeah.
it somehow came good at the end.
Yeah, maybe they should have only put people who didn't want to work on this movie to work on it. Maybe that would have been better. Well, that's Shrek 3.
So I'm looking through the soundtrack.
We've got more
and it's
Shrek
just
movies
so
to go,
much- so
folks.
average.
Apologies.
We do.
I'm excited for Puss in Boots in February.
Yeah, that's
My
so
excitement
far
for that
off.
has waned.
No, Hannah and I were talking about that again. We're talking about how Hannah and I both remember it being like surprisingly good.
Okay.
My expectations
Well-
were admittedly low.
But that's in January, isn't it? Because
No, February. We've
February.
got January will be Shrek Forever After.
That's right.
Mm,
Next
which
month
is
we're doing the
bad.
Shrek the Halls.
Yes.
Yes, the Christmas special. It's December. It's Christmas.
Shrek the Halls with Boughs of Donkey.
Hey.
Great.
I'm
Is
pretty
that
sure that's the tagline.
Is that a joke?
Oh.
No, I think that's the tagline, isn't it? Shrek the Halls. What did we do without Google?
This show is about 50% us Googling things.
Oh. No, sorry. It's Shrek the Halls with Puss and Donkey.
Great.
That sounds
really,
dirty.
Even
really
better.
works.
It does. I don't know why,
And-
but it doesn't sound right.
But for us, we'll be Shrekking the halls with Kajuk and VR pornography.
Yes, that's right. We will also. We've decided to like fucking Paul Blart the Star Wars Holiday Special. We're going to do that again this year. So
We
I
are.
could just hear all the people listening to this applauding and cheering. That was like I paused for
Yay.
applause.
What part of the Star Wars Holiday Special are you all the most excited to see again? I'll go first. It's the
credits.
musical number in the the credits. No, the musical number in the cantina,
Yeah.
which is genuinely the only part of the
The
film
good
that I
part.
enjoy. It's just such a banging song. I'm excited to hear it again and then tune out for every other part.
So we'll do similarly to what we did last time because this movie is so hard to find. We will try and organize a way for everyone to watch it together.
On
So
Christmas Day. Right?
Well, no, our episode comes out before Christmas. So
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately, we have to do it before then.
You're not
Um,
allowed to make any plans for Christmas Day because
Yeah, tell your
Yeah, 'cause
family.
we got to
your-
spend it with Chewbacca's fucking family.
I've already forgotten
Literally
the name
in
of
his
the
grandpa's
little
case.
kid. What's his name?
Itchy, lumpy.
Itchy.
They're the
Lumpy's a
old
grandpa,
gross
isn't
ones.
it?
What's
And
the little
Marla
baby?
is the
Lumpy.
Is it Lumpy?
I can't remember which one's which. One's itchy and one's lumpy. I don't.
But there's
I don't
also,
know.
isn't there like a newborn, or am I wrong?
I
Oh no,
don't
that is
remember being
lumpy.
horrified
That is
by that.
sorry,
Okay.
lumpy short for Lumpawaru,
Yeah, Lumpa-Waroo,
also
that's
known
right.
as
And
Waru
Nala
or
or
Lumpy.
Nala?
Anyway, point is, if you're actually interested in joining us for like a live watch of the holiday special, stay tuned in the Discord. We have a channel there. We'll talk about it with everyone in there. Try and like stream it so everyone can see it. It should be not fun, but a thing.
If you've never seen it before, it'll be a fun experience. It's a good thing to shit on.
Yeah,
It sure is.
we had a blast watching it with a bunch of people last year. So if you can join us, like, please do.
Yeah. And with that, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for being a patron. If you're a patron, if you're not a patron and you're listening to this, you're listening to it 6 months late. So go to patreon.com/duffmedia and you can listen to it on time and not listen to our Christmas episode in July, you weirdo.
Yeah, you're like 5 months late to join us watching the Star Wars holiday special. Can
You won't
believe
get
your
to
bad
watch
luck?
Grumpy Cat
6
until
months
December.
or 6 months early.
Oh god.
And with
But
that,
yeah,
as
so
we always say, sorry, were you saying something, Elliot, before we sign?
no, nothing worth saying.
Oh, okay.
Just,
Well,
let's do.
Just more
as we
crap.
always say,
Bye,
bye,
hoy,
hoy,
listeners.
listeners.
Get out of our swamp.
Reuben, you didn't do it again.
I thought Georgia does it. I got confused.
No, you can't do that because last month you said you didn't do it because it was green. So
Yeah.
this time I made sure it was
But
black.
I
I know,
swear-
that is
do.
exactly what he said last time.
Yeah, I swear to God, the plan was for Georgia to just be the one that does it. Anyway, bye, hoy, listeners, and get out of our swamp.
I also said
It's
my
too late.
swamp, so that actually did reinforce.
See?
What Ruben said.
na, oh,